Hello, everybody. Thank you for clicking on. It is Doofus After Dark for a Tuesday and Impromptu live. Wasn't planning on going live until a short time ago and became aware of some things that I thought I probably should get on here and share. And I thought, what the heck? Hey, Hot Mess Summer. I thought, hey, what the heck? I'll maybe take some questions from some people if people have some things they want to ask as we go along here. And I don't know how long this will be. And like I said, it's impromptu. Um, One thing I want to start out with, and because I've had some uh, Spirit of Steve, God help us all, for real. Um, okay, let's just let's start there since the Spirit of Steve is in the chat. Hello, Nancy. Hi, hot mess. Not going away. Thank you always for being here and for all you do. Um, yes, please, everybody, click the like. We're just getting started here. If you're just joining us, um, impromptu live doofus after dark for a Tuesday, the 12th day of September. We got by September 11th, the 22nd anniversary of it, and I had some kind of ominous messages and ominous things that were lining up, and I'm glad we got through September 11th. I'll just say that, and um, had a couple of emails asking about the 1 minute PSA I put out, and if there was the reason it was put out, when it was put out, and things like that. Um, I'm going to show it and talk about it coming up here in just a couple of minutes. So those that have questions about that, they'll be coming up. Since again the Spirit of Steve is here, since the last time I was on, we learned that the character from the little tiny sphere pimple on an ant's rectum community in relative comparison to the world, the community that was and still is um, various em- emobi from 1776 Restoration Movement, the People's Convoy, um, the Freedom Convoy, the Canadian Convoy, um, and those that opposed um, all of those things, or not always opposed, but often poked fun. Um, a character from that community, a rather significant character. Screamin' Steve passed away a week ago today, according to reports. And the report I got was he passed away in his sleep peacefully. There are, as with most things on the internet, there are various theories and speculation. I'm not going to delve into any of that. Um, I will say that I did imitate imitate Steve on Damnation Drive-In. Damnation Drive-In, also a YouTube channel that's currently under um, renovation and will be back at some point here, hopefully very soon. Anyway, I impersonated Steve very briefly. Okay, I want to hear me out on all this. I wasn't planning on doing this at the start, but screaming, Spirit of Steve's here, so let's honor Steve. Um, I impersonated Steve very briefly on Damnation Drive-In. I was the one impersonating him during the. He had a brief period where, and it was very brief, and my impersonation was of it was very brief because it wasn't there long. But he had a period where he was Steve. He was hissing his s's in a couple of his videos, and that's how damnation works. You got to pick up on things right away because everybody's picking up on them. And so I did that for a relatively short period of time, and then someone else started doing Steve, and and for those that heard that impression, it was freaking hilarious. Um, and for those that didn't, you need to, if you've got if you've got a sense of humor. I mean, it may be way 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 too soon for some people to hear it, but it's some funny stuff. I'm sorry. So I'm not sorry that the person's incredibly talented, and we're not going to talk about who the person is, but Steve was a character. Um, he had the nickname Screaming Steve for a well-deserved reason, um, and according and because of a Damnation Drive-In clip, um, we heard time and time and time again him ending with "God help us all," for real. And the the person impersonating Steve used that timing, and um, for that reason, I will always smile when I think of Screaming Steve, and you might hear more for real every now and then over the next couple of weeks as an homage to the departed Screaming Steve. Now, Steve screamed some inappropriate things at inappropriate times, including talking about the country killing kids and screaming it at two kids walking by, you know. Um, and there are, depending on which side of the fence you're on, there are various opinions of Steve. I personally only know him from covering this incredible. Um, it started out as last summer. Last summer, it was must see. It was incredible. It was drama. It was comedy. It was um, costumes. Um, it was the threat of violence. It was it was real reality for the most part, in that it involved several people with real feelings and real beliefs. Um, I'm not saying everybody on either side were 100% real, but a lot of the people were 100% real in who they are, and in their beliefs, and they were putting it all out for people to see, and it was incredible. It caused a lot of people to uh, to lose a lot of sleep, um, and it went from that to an online war and a weaponizing of the um, weaponizing of the courts, um, and then it the focus transferred more towards the January 6th vigil, if you will, um, and And now it's almost like, this is, with all due respect to Steve, who just passed away, this is the thing that will not die. This just keeps coming back and coming back and coming back. And David Rydell has quit twice so far. Once he was, "You can all go to hell, I'm going to Ohio." Second time was for like 3 days. And I commented on it. A lot of pastors do that at their churches. Threaten that, well, I'm going to just have, we're going to quit. We've only got enough for a month left, and what are we going to do? Blah blah blah. And it's a fundraising thing. I'm not saying that's what he did. I'm just saying a lot of pastors do that. And it's so that hasn't even died officially yet. And things just keep kind of shooting off of it. And one thing that has shot off, and shot off in a big way, those that watch the show know that when we do when I do a normal show instead of just this like impromptu thing we're doing here, when I do a normal show, um, I have the top 6 stories from the mainstream media, and sometimes it's from the Associated Press, and it says AP, and I say AP. That's the stories from Associated Press, not Anarchy Princess. Well, in this situation, we're talking about Anarchy Princess, not Associated Press, because Anarchy Princess is one of the things that is shot off of the community that still exists. And I'm glad it still exists in a way, because there are a lot of incredible people in the community that I'm in contact with and in communication with, and watch and see in chat, and grateful that you watch. And Anarchy Princess, since the last time we talked, I showed you her first of 3 separate appearances behind Peter Navarro. He made money off of her. He raised a lot of money off of using her appearance behind him. I'm hoping she made money. Honestly, I am. I'm hoping she made money too for for her appearance behind him. I do know she made views, and I do know she's garnered a lot of respect of people, that are against what Peter Navarro was trying to do. And since that time, and we showed that first one, there have been 2 more appearances behind Peter Navarro. The second one was equally, if not more impactful than the first one. And then the third one, there, in my opinion, just from watching it, I haven't studied it, I haven't analyzed it, I haven't gone frame by frame, I haven't slow-mo, I haven't stilled, I haven't done any of that. I just watched it, and it sure looked like there was an organized effort to make sure that Anarchy Princess was not directly behind Peter Navarro. It seemed to fail, and it's out there for you. It was on CNN, I believe. The another one of these characters that this time, and his name's Steve too. This time it's Jericho Steve. He acted incredibly inappropriately, and what many, including probably the letter of the law, says in a sexually abusive, if not sexually assaultive manner towards Anarchy Princess. And all that is going to do eventually, because eventually it's going to percolate up as she percolates up, and she continues to percolate up. So that part of it hasn't really caught on as much yet, but it will. It will. And then today, for those that don't know, Anarchy Princess was detained for um, assault on her own, uh, by blowing a whistle in someone's ear. Um, that person required, he didn't require it, but he requested medical attention, and EMTs were called, and a fire truck had to come out, and a whole bunch of money was wasted because of that, because of that, that rule that we talk about on here. It starts with creating a problem, blaming someone else, and then claiming to be the victim. We saw that today happen to Anarchy Princess, in that she was standing behind Ivan Rankin and a guy named Bobby Powell, who's a J6 vigil person, and has since said, you see what happens to J6, people that try to anyway. Um, a couple of things. She was detained because they complained that she blew a whistle while they were doing a live stream, and she didn't really blow the, for those, I'm not going to show it, but you can find it. In all honesty, those that know me, and I've said it on here before, I report on AP. I've had her. She's been on. She was nice enough to come on the show once, and we had a great. It was a great episode, and a lot of people really enjoyed it. And she's welcome back anytime. She knows that. Um, but as far as direct communication between the two of us, there is none. Um, and I'm just telling you, I report on her, and I'm telling you, what she was not. And I know a lot of people that haven't seen the video cannot imagine her not blowing it in some incredibly obnoxious, um, you know, at a decibel that could hurt somebody's ear if it was right next to it. A lot of people are jumping to that conclusion. I've seen the video. That's not how it is. Not even close. AP was honestly barely getting a noise out of the whistle. It just wasn't how a lot of people imagine it to be. And until you see the clip, um, you're going to imagine that. And most people look at the clip that don't like AP. They're not going to look at the clip after hearing this, because they would just as soon keep the impression they have, and that's a big problem in our country too. Overlooking facts just so that we can hold on to what our um, feelings indicate our beliefs to be. Um, but that's for a whole nother episode. Okay. Nancy, Lori Arnold, that guy needs to be charged for the public resources. A fire truck for assault whistleblow, not by his ears. Good point. Yes, public resources. There was money used to run the fire truck out there, and there were a lot of police officers out there, as often is the case. And by the way, just to completely finish the story before I come back over to Nancy's comment, AP was not arrested. Okay, she was detained, and the actual chief of the Capitol Police uh, informed the potential arresting officer just to let her go. She was never transported. She was released on Capitol property and immediately left Capitol Hill property. Um, wise, wise move, and yeah. So um, everybody that that was cheering the demise of AP. No, her star will, you know, I mean, there's she's going to continue to elevate out of where she's at now. She's just going to continue to elevate. I um, hope she's got people around her um, that you know sounding boards and stuff because the higher you get in the internet thing or in any kind of thing, the higher you get, the more people that will gravitate to you, um, and the more of the and a lot of those people aren't gravitating towards you for your own good. I'll just put it that way. So um, do your thing, AP. Nancy, legally, he went beyond sexual assault when he put that flagpole on her body. He crossed the line to sexual battery. Okay. Um, yeah, and sometimes the wheels of justice roll slowly. They turn slowly, and I have a feeling that information is going to keep getting out too, because that the, um, if you're, yeah, I don't know. And the thing about it is, there's a video, and actually, Lori Arnold was the one that showed me. There's a video of this Jericho Steve before all of this happened, kind of premeditating that he was wanting to assault somebody with the flag. Um, uh, Leo 68. Hello, everyone. I'm starting to believe a lot of these cops are on the wrong side. Um, Leo, I'm not going to discount that at all. Um, I will say that when and if there were an uprising by those that we call the Trumpers or the far right or whatever term is used, the Nazis, the fascists, whatever terms people use for the far right, primarily supporters of Trump. Not all of them are, but um, if that uprising ever were to occur, um, how the military and how the police and Leos, the local enforcement officers, um, how they break, what side they are on, goes a long way in determining what kind of outcome there is. So something to think about. Um, they wouldn't likely charge him with battery, but they damn well need to arrest him. Okay. Um, yeah, I think. I mean, yeah, I don't think that should be. Um, I don't think that should just be brushed off and forgotten about. I do think that needs to, because otherwise it sends the message it's okay, and it's not. Um, all right, what I'm gonna do here real quick before I forget to do it is, let me see. I got to switch back over here, and I'm just going to play this 1 minute public service announcement that was the last video I put up for those that haven't seen it. And after I play it, I'm going to play it again. Only I'm going to stop and talk and answer questions through it. Okay, my mic's muted when I'm playing it, so um, I can't really play it again with the chat. Um, how can I do this? No, it's not going to work. All right. Um, I'll just talk about it. The reason I put it out is because I kind of address it at the beginning. Since the Cold War ended, there is no real nuclear preparation. We have been rather narcissistic, if you will, as a nation, in that we've assumed the whole world's focus is on us in a positive manner, and in all reality, especially right now, that's not the case. Um, China, Russia, or North Korea, as well as other potential nations, could very easily um, be targeting us right now with plans for um, a nuclear attack. Any one or all, one of them or all three of them at the same time, um, and we don't have information. Um, and I don't think that this is going to be a focus of mainstream media. So we got to do it ourselves. And the four main types of a potential nuclear incident, explosion, um, are the dirty bomb, the sabotage of a nuclear plant, um, an aerial burst, and a ground burst. Um, Ground burst, most severe, most destructive. The closer to the ground it is, the bigger the fireball is going to be. The more widespread the radiation fallout is going to be. Um, Primarily for concern for military bases, major infrastructure. Washington D.C. Would probably be a ground burst. Um, New York City would probably be an air burst to take out all the electronics with an electromagnetic pulse, which is um, the main focus of having an air burst. Is a much wider spread impact overall without as much devastation. Okay, there's going to be a circle that there's just absolutely nothing left. Everything's incinerated, and it will go out. The damaged circles will go out to where eventually it is just the danger of fallout. Um, Ground bursts will be, like I said, military bases where the missile silos are now, potential nuclear plants to increase the devastation, um, key cities, but most cities would be targeted with EMPs, and this is also dependent on the countries that were, which country launches the attack, which approach, and what nukes they would use. So this is just what I put out. The PSA is just to give you the basic info, because there's more that we probably should be told, and I'm going to tell it over the course of the next few weeks. Um, Not because there's an immediate nuclear threat, but because things are things are really amping up. in a lot of ways, and we'll talk about that tomorrow night. Chris will be on at 9 o'clock. We'll have uh, our world sit rep, our situational report on what's going on in the world in Africa, Haiti, the Mid East, um, and of course the Eastern European front, as well as what's been happening here in the United States. And one thing that happened today, one of the reasons I came on, and information I felt like I should get out. And I've showed you the flight trackers on the presidential doomsday planes. And these planes are designed for one purpose and one purpose only: to get the President of the United States, the Secretary of Defense, and the Joint Chief of Staff's, um, the chief of the the Joint Staff, to get those three people out of Washington, D.C. in the event of a nuclear attack. The plane is specifically constructed so that it will withstand a nuclear blast, not a direct hit, but be able to withstand a nearby nuclear blast. Um, the even the paint on the plane is specifically designed for that. Um, I tell you all that because last night that plane flew into Andrews Air Force Base, Andrews um, Joint Operations Base, because it's not just Air Force Base anymore, but that's the home of Air Force One. Um, Biden was coming back from Alaska. Not sure if that was the plane he was in. If it is, that even ups the ante even more. The fact that the plane is in Andrews and has not gone back to its home base um, means that there's intelligence in the military that at least says, for precaution, we've got to have the doomsday plane in DC, one of the doomsday planes in DC. And there are different categories of the doomsday plane, as I've talked about. There's the presidential, there's the command and control, there's the nuke sniffers, there's the nuke hunters, and then there are the nuke bombers, as well as the F-35, basically miniature stealth, uh, mini stealth bombers, which are they're fighter jets, but we just sent 50 of those over to England, as we talked about in past episodes. Anyway, that plane is now at Andrews. As long as it's in D.C., we know that it's there for a minimum of precaution, um, because it's not stationed there. That's the home of Air Force One, the normal planes that the president and vice president use. Um, so a lot of things are leading to amping up, and we need to talk about what may happen. And because not a lot of other people are, at least not in a rational way or in a way that's going to try to sell you um, prepper materials. We're just going to tell you to prepare. We're not going to sell you anything, um, but we will tell you to prepare. Everybody should, at a minimum. At a minimum, it used to be 3 days. At a minimum, I used to say 72 hours, just in case all the power goes out. Um, 10 days at a minimum, 10 days in case of a radiation event in your area, where you've got to seal yourself in wherever you're at. And if your house is where you're at, and you don't have a basement, go to the most center room with no windows. And if you can't do that, make sure you seal up as good as you possibly can, the windows that are going to be impacting you. Seal the doors up. You're going to have your pets inside with you for 10 days. You're not there. There's not going to be running water. So you need enough water, a gallon per person, a gallon apiece per person minimum for 10 days. So 20 gallons of water. You probably don't have that. And it is much better to have it and never ever need it, to find yourself in a situation where your life depends on you having water and you don't have it. And that's one of the reasons I put the PSA out, because nobody's talking about, everybody's talking about a bunch of really small stuff. A lot of people are fascinated with drama and conflict, on an interpersonal level in the little communities. Um, but there's some potentially big things going on, and we are, we are not um, impenetrable. We're not. All right, we're not. Um, and for a long time, we were. A long time, it was like nobody can attack the United States. Nobody would dare. It's not that way anymore. We're still probably the baddest kids on the block, but if the others get together and decide to vote us off the island, um, yeah, we would not go down quietly, but we might go down. And and if there was a nuclear sneak attack, um, we're totally unprepared. So let's do a little preparation. A dirty bomb. Dirty bomb is primarily going to be let off in a city. It's a small. It's basically you take any kind of radioactive material and you combine it with an explosive. You let it off in a populated area, and it's the potential is for terror. It is to, if this can happen in here, then it could, where else is it going to happen? Kind of like 9/11, 22 years ago yesterday. I was broadcasting on a radio station, and there was a lot of back and forth, not on air but behind the scenes, and with officials as to, you know, where else is this going to happen, and especially before all planes were forced down. That quelled a lot of it, but up until that point, behind the scenes, there were a whole bunch of people nervous about where else it was going to hit. Anyway, that's the purpose of a dirty bomb. Um, and it's not mass destruction. It's not mass casualties. It's mass chaos. And if you remember, we did an episode. It might have been. I'm going to say between 9 and 12 months ago. We did an episode because New York City had put out a public service announcement on what to do in case of a dirty bomb in New York City. And they wouldn't have done that had there not been, um, in my opinion anyway, had there not been a need for it. So, uh, New York, D.C., Philadelphia, Boston, uh, cities up and down East Coast, West Coast, cities all around the country, a dirty bomb could happen anywhere at any time. And when one does, as I said, it will create panic everywhere else. All the other cities will be, okay, what do we do? How do we secure our city? Um, which takes the focus on whatever else might be going on. All right. It is um, a potential distraction as well as a terrorist event. The second is again the meltdown of a core at a nuclear plant. That would lead to the ultimate explosion. Of course, a nuclear attack at a nuclear power plant, we don't even want to fathom. Um, but if it is just extreme environmentalists are doing a lot of things, a lot of things, including gluing themselves to pavement. All right. I mean, it's bad enough you sit in front of traffic and you trust the person behind the wheel enough not to hit you, not to try to kill you, but just to hit you to get to wherever they have to go. But you glue yourself there, and so I'm just saying these are extremes, and could a nuclear plant be um, a terrorist target? Absolutely. And if that is the case, um, as the PSA says, it takes more time for that massive explosion to happen. That would eventually happen. That wouldn't be the a total meltdown. There's a whole bunch of other things that supposedly we've got safeguards against, but you know how that works. Um, but just assuming a terrorist attack on a nuclear plant, there would be time to evacuate. There would be more time with this. However, once the event does start and the dominoes start falling and the destruction starts happening, potential for massive mass destruction is with that situation. Again, the aerial is the third in the four, primarily over cities, primarily to release an electromagnetic pulse, an EMP, which will destroy most modern electronics, um, unless you've got them in a Faraday cage, and even then, um, if it's a homemade Faraday cage off of YouTube, good luck. If it's an actual, professional Faraday cage, who are you going to talk to once you get it out when nobody else has those electronics? Anyway, that would be the primary purpose. However, there would be destruction with an aerial burst, and again, directly directly under where the burst happens is where the most destruction will occur, and it will gradually decrease in rings going outward from said center of destruction. And then the ground burst. That's where the aerial burst. Here's the ground. The aerial burst. The burst is way, way, way above out of even camera range, and the ground burst is boom on the ground. And that is the most devastating, the most dangerous, and again, the most likely to happen. Military bases, silos, um, key infrastructure, military manufacturers, key military, um, key plants that refurbish um, military equipment, things like that. So, first thing you should probably do is, if you're concerned, and I think you should be, I think everybody should be not concerned, but aware. All right. We don't want you paranoid. We want you prepared so you don't panic, because the the most valuable thing here soon, these are the good old days. We may not think so at the moment, but we got everything pretty good at the moment. We really do, compared to what potentially could be coming. I'm just saying. All right. So we don't want you to panic. Um, we want you to prepare, because the most valuable thing in a um, in a situation, and in any intense situation, to be able to keep your head while everyone around you is losing theirs. That will be so incredibly valuable. And the more you think about it and process it and think, what would I do in certain situations? Don't don't um, don't fixate on it, um, but just consider, hey, if something happens, um, what do I do? Because it's better to ask that now before anything happens than have something happen and you're still going, what do I do? Having just a little bit of preparation, if it ever happens, if anything ever happens, especially if something nuclear happens around you, because that's a whole different ball game. Um, a tornado, a flood, a wildfire. The government is eventually going to get there to help you. If the country's under nuclear attack, and that's one reason the government's not telling us a whole lot, is because we don't have fallout shelters anymore, bomb shelters. Now, there are underground safe zones um, for people. Um, if you don't already have your e-ticket for that ride, um, we won't be going. So perhaps we need to start thinking about looking after ourselves. That's why I put the um, that's why I put the PSA out. And again, there are going to be more to follow. Um, more of just I'm going to try to do another 1 minute. The next one's going to be what to do in case of one of those four events. Just general, stuff you should think about, in my opinion. So it's not a one thing. There's another one coming, and maybe two or three more after that, um, depending on situations. So, with all that said, let me hop back over. To chat here, because I've been going a while. Um, let me get down. Uh, okay, these are some comments that have popped up while I was talking. Nancy says, "Yeah, in civics class inside the Beltway, teacher told us repeatedly we didn't have to worry about nuclear war because if there ever were one, we wouldn't feel a thing." Yeah, unfortunately, if you're in the Beltway, um, chances are it's going to be a ground blast, and it's going to wipe out. Um, it would wipe out a massive amount, if not in total, the Beltway. And for those that don't know, the Beltway is basically inside the interstate loop that goes around DC. Uh, Please, everyone, have food, water, medication, toys for kids, and pet stuff ready. Have at least a month if you can. Yeah, I'm not in a situation where I can prepare for a whole lot longer than I already have. Um, but yeah, I'm not just on here talking about this stuff. I actually do it, and again, I'm not selling you anything. I'm not telling you what to buy or anything like that. I'm just advising you to have some things put aside if you're in a position to do so, um, because things are ratcheting up, and potassium iodine is one of the things I was going to talk about as far as being prepared in that next little 1 minute thing. Um, Basically, potassium iodine is going to protect your thyroid from radiation. Um, it's one of the only things you can do. If it does hit the fan, Fill up your bathtub with water because that's going to be a source of uncontaminated water, and uncontaminated water is going to be an incredibly valuable resource if we ever get to the place where I fear we are heading. Um, Echo Romeo, uh, they're going to let DC keep doing what they've been doing. Um, I don't know, not if they blow them up. uh, Pat Tolliver, hello. Uh, no, yeah, I'm gonna do an episode, not one of the PSA shorts, but in one of these, only planned instead of impromptu. I'm going to do an episode. I'm going to have a map of where the nuclear plants are, a map of where the military bases are, things like that. But don't wait on me to do it here in a day or in the next week. If make sure you know if you feel like you need to know, and you may be surprised that there are assets around you that you hadn't considered that would be potential targets. Um, have a pile of blankets, a couple of rolls of duct tape, power drill with screws. Nancy's ready. Um, it does. Yeah. It sounds like The Day After, I think was the name of the movie that was out, um, or was a TV show. But unfortunately, Atomic Cafe. I'd forgotten about Atomic Cafe. Um, that's true too. 10 days with pets and a family in a bathroom. Um, you need a lot of plastic bags. You need small plastic bags for um, individual um, reliefs, and then you need large plastic bags. Put the small plastic bags, keep everything sealed up and as far away from the conditions. It's going to get it's going to get real tribal real fast. You're going to be in a small area, and you're going to be confined in that small area. Um, yeah, it's coming. We just don't know when. So everyone, just please be ready. Um, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. Glorious. I didn't say it was glorious. No, I'm just saying everything's going to break down. Everything's going to break down really fast as far as our society. Um, we're already fractured, and in the event of something, in the event of something on a national scale, it may not be a nuclear attack by one of the countries we're talking about. It could be something else. Who knows? Um, we tested whether we could shoot an asteroid or not, and we found out we did, and we could. Um, and as soon as we did, I said, "Okay, no, but should we have done that? What if that bumps into something else, and it sets off a chain of events that eventually leads to something crashing to Earth?" Well, some high school kids that have been monitoring that rock since we hit it have noticed that it's making some really abnormal movements, and it's potentially going to leave its current safe um, orbit. Yeah. Anyway, um, no matter what um, is to happen, if something happens on a national scale, even if there's no nuclear incident at all, China has malware implanted called voltage, um, voltage Viper, something like that, I think. Anyway, they've got malware into most of our infrastructure computers, and we can't get it out. And if they so desire, they could probably shut down most of the country. Um, if that if that alone were to happen, and there weren't any devastation, deaths, and destruction from nuclear, 72 hours, 3 days, society breaks down. It gets ugly really fast, potentially, and we're focused on a whole lot of little things that uh, divide us individually. Little wedge things. They're not little when that's your passion. I'm not trying to deride anyone from their passions. I'm just saying that we get focused on things um, that possibly keep us from focusing on what the bigger picture should maybe be, and that is as many of us as possible. It's not going to be everybody ever. As many of us as possible should start thinking more collectively and less divisively. Um, been talking about it for a long time. I'm going to keep talking about it because I still believe it. Anyway, so that's that. Yes, please hit the like and share. Consider sharing. Hit the subscribe button. I'll be back on tomorrow night. Let me get down to the very bottom and make sure we don't have any um, civil unrest. Definitely follow an event like this. Absolutely. Um, oh, and yeah, the looting. Um, because people suddenly realize there's no more stuff coming. There's no more stuff coming. We got to do with what we've got until more stuff comes. Um, Jim, Jim, I'm a nuke guy. You should read the book, $10,000 Bottle of Wine. Okay, I'll check it out, Jim. Thank you. Echo says expect to self rescue. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, a movie I would recommend, and I'm going to recommend it because it's got some humor in it, but it also still has a message that incredibly resonates. Um, if you've never seen Peter Sellers' Doctor Strangelove or How I Learned to Love the Bomb, that's the title of the film, Doctor Strangelove or How I Learned to Love the Bomb. Um, it's a quirky black and white movie for effect. Um, and Peter Sellers plays numerous characters in it. Incredibly talented actor, and it'll just it'll give you a few chuckles, and it might make you consider how easily we could go to that unthinkable place, not of our own choosing either. That's the other thing. It's not like any of us are are screaming for nuclear war. Um, Most of us are trying to talk about trying to unite as much as we possibly can to survive whatever it is that may be coming. There are too many options for something not to happen, in my opinion. Sure hope I'm wrong. I'll be back tomorrow night. Chris will be joining us. I'll be on at 8:30 with the X scroll and some headline news and a couple of stories ahead of Chris. And then Chris will come on somewhere 9ish, maybe a little before, maybe a little after, depending on things and depending on what's happening in the world, of course. So I hope you'll join us then. And Until then, namaste, shalom, shalom, assalamu alaikum. Blessings be upon each and every one of you that so desire. Positive vibrations. Peace. Love y'all like chocolate chip cookies, and that's big time. Positive vibrations. Live long and prosper. It's a dark world. Try to be a light. And see you tomorrow night at 8:30, I hope.